This court holds a special place in our democratic society, considering that it serves as the cornerstone of justice of workers, ensuring that their rights are protected, their voices are heard, and their dignity is upheld. This special and unique space held by this court can only be understood with a clear understanding of the history and evolution of the court. The journey of the Employment and Labor Relations Court can be traced back to the progressive labor movement that emerged in Kenya during the struggle for independence. With the workers fighting for their rights and fair treatment in their places of work, while seeking for freedom and social justice. The court has undergone several transformations over the years to enhance its jurisdiction and improve its capacity to handle labor matters effectively. We recognize you because you have gone further and created a departure, now looking into an area of worst forms of child labor and how to eliminate or how to handle it. If you see something good, it is something that was made either through research, through thinking, through scientific approach, and now maybe through artificial intelligence. In 1953, the precursor of the industrial code to the industrial court was the Industrial Disputes Tribunal under the Industrial Relations Ordinance Cap 55, even though the tribunal had limited powers and primarily focused on settling individual disputes between employers and employees. With increased calls for freedom and more rights by the labor movement in the 50s and 60s, the Trade Union Ordinance of 1952 was enacted, providing for the settlement of disputes through conciliation and, if necessary, an arbitration panel or a board of inquiry. I always feel proud. I know I might tire you, but it is good to take you to the memory lane to know where we came from and where we are going. If I don't do so, we have players nowadays who mistake some of these institutions. Some think that labor movement is part of welfare societies or circles and so on. And some also think that when you are in the High Court, you are also in Employment and Labor Relations Court. However, on 10th February 1964, through the efforts of our most celebrated labor leader on the African continent, the late Thomas Joseph Mboya, the Industrial Court was established through a tripartite agreement under the Industrial Relations Act, with Honorable Justice Saidi Koka being appointed as the principal judge. Last year I didn't attend, and whenever I attend, because of the new entrants, the labor market, I will always try to remind you this. Eventually, it will appear after me, somebody also who will be researching will come out with this. But it is my prime duty, so long as I'm still breathing, before maybe I'm retired next year as we approach our elections, to remind you where we came from. The Act gave this court the authority to adjudicate on matters related to collective bargaining, unfair labor practices, strikes, lockouts, and trade disputes. And in 1965, this legislation was amended where the Act was strengthened, making the court a standalone organ as it is today. The first presiding judge, the Honorable Justice Said Koka, the late now, was at the time of his appointment a practicing advocate whose firm represented workers under the Kenya Federation of Labor, precursor to the Central Organization of Trade Unions, together with his brother and a partner, former Chief Justice, Honorable Justice Majidi Koka, who used to defend the political activists of the day and other agitators for Kenya's freedom, including trade union leaders, freedom fighters, and workers. So you are aware, in Africa, Asia, and Latin America, freedom was won through the struggle of labor movement. It was the late Thomas Joseph Mboya, who had just moved to government from the Federation of Labor, that convinced Justice Coker to take up the appointment as the first ever presiding judge of the court. And there is no way our Kenyan workers, right now or even after me, can or will distance himself or themselves from this important court. Indeed, this court remains the brainchild of the labor movement in Kenya, and what the trade union movement had in mind was that we must have an organ to protect the weak. And who are the weak? Under social tripartism, or under our tripartite agreement, the workers remain weak. Because both employers have capital, government has muscle, they can be in a position to find out their way to justice, however expensive it may be. This is the only court where a paralegal person or person who has never done law can appear and represent himself or the rest or the group and so on. As representatives of workers, trade unions have over the years looked upon this court for protection, and that is why we are strained to the core, even when some judgments have been made that are not familiar with the territory and structures of industrial relations practice in this country. And sometimes I always appeal to the senior judges also to try and orient those newly appointed judges who might not be in a position to understand the structures of the labor movement and what the trade unions do and their capacitance, because capacity is built from capacitance or a capacitor, that these people are there as a pressure group, and they might not be in a position where they are asked maybe to compensate on the mistakes that might have been made by their representative lawyers in courts of law, millions and millions of shillings, because our structures are like club structures where you get money from membership and you spend the same money to the very membership. But this is a very important court. Chief Justice, at one time, I was saying that we need to have get-together social partners, judges and the Employment and Relations Court, the leaders, the affiliated trade unions of the Central Organization of Trade Unions, the Federation of Kenya Employers, and maybe under your chairmanship, to orient ourselves with the activities, very important activities of this important court. This is more or less like a family court. This court looks into people who work together, who live together, who have served one another for years, and therefore, when they are trying to quarrel or they want to separate, it's just like family matters, and the cautiousness on the approach of those legal issues must always be applicable. And besides that, Chief Justice, before we used to have assessors to assist the old guys, to assist the judge in making sure that issues of family are also incorporated in any judgment. So this is how this court has been, and it should remain so for now and for years. Over the years, Chief Justice, this court has transformed into an important forum for workers and employers and trade unions to seek redress, settle grievances, and enforce labor laws, which ultimately contributed to the growth and development of social justice in our labor laws and hence economic growth. Because with industrial stability, justice, the economy or anybody with policies, either government, geared towards growing our economy or to spur economic growth, we require this court. We rely on this court. It's a very important court. Recently, they made a milestone for SHA workers, former NHIF employees, and this is very important. Something, as I sit in the board of SHA, we would have not been amicably agreed and came to the conclusion if it were not for this court. Equally, the court has become a satellite of reference to the entire continent of Africa, not now, even before independence. So many African countries have been here to learn how this court operates and how court creates industrial harmony, industrial stability. And now it is on its way in making sure that those involved, they also understand issues of child labor, that we in the Central Organization of Trade Unions and the Federation of Kenya Employers, under the guidance of the International Labour Organization, is a subject matter that we have been dealing with under our Ministry of Labor for so many years. And now we are supplemented by the efforts that this, through the approach this important court is trying to make. At this point, the evolution that was to follow was a direct consequence and demand by the Central Organization of Trade Unions when, soon after my election as COTU, the Secretary General of COTU in the year 2001, I'm one of the long-serving labor leaders in this, not only in this country, but on the continent of Africa. In India there are, but here I am among the one who has served workers for now a good time, let me say, from 2001. My immediate, after my appointment, was that we need more judges to this court, and that became my priority. A week after meeting the late President Mwai Kibaki, in the presence of Francis Mdaura, who is still living, and Francis Kimemia, who is still living, to appeal, I went there to appeal for more judges to be appointed. He listened to me carefully, and on 22nd September of 2003, he appointed 4 more judges, namely Justice Stewart Mazayo, Justice Edwin Mukunya, Justice Paul Kosgei, and Justice Mtaza Ali Jaffa, to assist those old 2 judges that we had, the late Justice Said Koka, together with Justice Charles Chemtut. So you can see where we came from, and I wish the founding Justice Judge Koka was living to see the wonderful and how education is good, that it transforms and it changes, it modernizes, and it is amazing as what is happening today here. In 2007, Chief Justice, further reforms led to the enactment of the 5 sets of labor laws. Here, the Federation of Kenya Employers and Central Organization of Trade Unions joined hands to approach the International Labour Organization in order to modernize the archaic labor laws, the colonial ones that were there, and were replaced by the 5 sets of labor laws that helps you people to make judgment. And ILO supported us financially, set up a committee with an expert from South Africa, and we did a lot of campaign jointly in Parliament to make sure that we had new modern labor laws. Come 2010, under Article 162 of our Constitution, the Employment and Labor Relations Court was established, marking a transformative step in the court's evolution, expanding its mandate and equipping it with increased powers to adjudicate on broader range of employment-related matters. This court finally became a specialized institution dedicated to resolving disputes and protecting the rights of both employers and workers. In 2012, more judges were appointed as we continue to pressurize to have judges in provinces, to have judges in Kisumu, Nyeri, to have judges in Nakuru, Kericho, and other Mombasa, and other densely populated places. More judges were appointed to the court following changes in the constitution that made it a fully specialized court. The judges included Honorable Justice Myra Mungaya, who is now the principal judge and a wonderful person, Lady Justice Monica Mbaru, Honorable Justice D.K. Njagi Marete, Honorable Lady Justice Maureen Onyango, Honorable Justice Matthews Nderunduma, Honorable Justice Abuoda J. Nelson, Honorable Lady Justice Helen Wasilwa, Honorable Justice Stephen Radido, Honorable Justice James Rika, Honorable Lady Justice Lynette Ndolo, Honorable Justice Onesmus Makau, and Honorable Justice Nziokiwa Makau. And we in Labour Movement, we celebrated because we had realized our dream. Remember, in 2023, none of our judges of this court, if you can remember very well, attended our annual International Labour Conference of the International Labour Organization in Geneva. And I had to personally seek audience on the importance of our judges attending the International or ILC in Geneva. And I want to thank Chief Justice, and here she is. I want to thank you very, very highly. You welcomed me very well, you listened to me, and you said, I will do something. And indeed you did. You are a great person. This is because the International Labour Conference, as a UN agency and a body that regulates the world of work, provides an opportunity for governments, employers, and workers to discuss a range of issues, including the new emerging forms of work, which will be confronting our judges to deliver judgments on. Indeed, it is the Central Organization of Trade Unions in Kenya that pushed the then President Mwai Kibaki's government to allow various, after that, Chief Justice allowed, and he agreed, and the following year, you allowed the representatives of the Employment and Labor Relations Court to be with us in Geneva. This is simply, Chief Justice, because at the ILO, we have at the ILO, we have special work that the court needs to understand. We have a committee known as a committee on the applications of labor standards. It's very important. It's global, and it normally touches on us. And our judges there, they understand it well. Because most of the people who are there, including those people who chair, are people who understand issues related to law and judgments as far as workers and employers issues are concerned. And we went on pushing other institutions also to be allowed by President Kibaki's government to be attending the International Labour Conference in Geneva for a specific purpose like the National Social Security Fund, because of the International Social Security Association, ISA, which is an arm of the International Labour Organization. NITA, which is part of the ILO's obligation dealing with skills issues related to prior learning. National Hospital Insurance Fund, as part of the International Labour Organization Social Security jurisdiction, as well as health and judges of this court, who are very crucial in the two International Labour Organization recurrent committees of standard setting and freedom of association. And they also get an opportunity, Chief Justice, to mingle with their friends from all over the world and compare notes. So to us, it was very important, and since they started attending, you can see what is happening now. This is an international thinking. What is happening here, you cannot take it for granted that the Employment and Labor Relations Court can discuss issues related to child work, can also discuss issues related to families, and not only issues of deciding on butter and bread. And here in Kenya, child labor continues to deny millions of children their fundamental rights, considering many children still work in hazardous conditions, away from classrooms, exposed to risks that damage their health, limit their potential, and entrench cycles of poverty. KOTU Kenya, together with our affiliates and partners, has been at the forefront of fighting against child labor through working closely with the International Labour Organization in the implementation of Conventions 138 and 182, which Kenya has ratified to ensure that minimum age standards and the elimination of worst forms of child labor are upheld. Through our trade union structures, we have monitored workplaces and sectors where child labor is most prevalent, particularly in the agriculture, domestic work, and in the informal economy, and raised an alarm where violations occur. The Central Organization of Trade Unions has heavily invested in awareness and education campaigns within communities, empowering parents and workers to understand the long-term harm of child labor and the benefits of keeping children in school. And that is why we as KOTU, and under my guidance, we have 126 children in various schools, 84 in secondary schools, and 42 in our universities. And every year we do so. On top of that, if you ask my office, the months of January and February, I don't earn. My salaries of my two unions, Kenya Plantation and Agricultural Workers Union, the Central Organization of Trade Unions, goes on paying school fees for the needy children. We have continuously advocated for stronger social protection and decent wages for parents, because we know that the best way to protect a child is to ensure that their parents have secure and dignified work. I want to thank His Excellency the President when he met the teachers another day. World over, and Sister Jacqueline knows this, my daughter Sister Hamad is here from the ILO. The CBA's life is 2 years. There is nowhere in the world where CBA can be in place, collective bargaining agreement can be in place for 4 years. Because of dynamism in economic growth, economic changes, inflation rate, consumer price indices, this keeps on fluctuating as per the economy performance of any given country. So 4 years, you are compensating somebody for what? So now I want to thank the President. He issued a statement and assured teachers that now their CBAs and those in public service unions will be in place for 2 years, like what is happening in the private sector of our economy. It is our hope and trust that we continue to pull together in supporting this important institution of our economy as we all look forward for continued effective and speedy discharge of justice to our members. Having said that, I want to thank you and I want to echo the sentiments that our sister, the CS gender, said that let us guide our children properly. Let's try to guide our children properly. Let's not allow our children to go on the streets on behalf of us. As parents, we are capable fighting for our rights world over. And let nobody tell you that this country requires youth to be leaders. Nowhere, even including the very advanced economies, US, how old is Trump? Huh? Yeah, we had Giorgio Napolitano, the president of Italy. Before he comes to the podium, he's assisted because he can't work. He's 93. He was 93. Why have workers stuck on me at this age? Yeah? Because I try as much as I can to cut myself to a size understandable to any generation. This is very important if you want to remain relevant. But instead of cutting ourselves to be understandable to this generation, we distance and we surrender our noble mandate to our children. We need to guide them. We need to tell them what to do. And we need to be close to our children. And we need to be disciplinarian to our children, so that we can have a society that upholds our culture. Chief Justice, I can talk and talk because of my age and so on. But let me leave there because so many people want to hear from you and the rest. May God bless you. May God bless this court. May God bless this court.
From which generation are those claps coming from? Thank you very much, Dr. Atwoli, for those very poignant remarks and for taking us really down the rich history of our progression to where we are today. I'd like to thank KTN. We are live on KTN, and also to implore the other speakers. Then the only reason why I did not interrupt Dr. Atwoli is because I also cut my cloth based on the age and respect that breadth of experience. So let us try and save on time so that we can also hear from the rich panel that is coming after this opening session. Let me now welcome Ms. Caroline Mugala, ILO Country Director for Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, and Burundi, to give us her remarks. Karibu.
Mgeni rasmi, Jaji Mkuu Mheshimiwa Martha Koome, wadau wa utatu, ni lazima niwazungumzie pia. Katibu Mkuu Wizara ya Kazi na Hifadhi ya Jamii, Katibu Mkuu Shirikisho la Vyama vya Wafanyakazi KOTU, Mkurugenzi wa Chama cha Waajiri Kenya, itifaki ikizingatiwa. Nianze kwa kumuomba mgeni rasmi radhi kama kizungu changu hakitafikia viwango vyenu. Naomba msinisalimie. Maana mimi ni jirani, nimetoka Tanzania. Kwa hivyo acha nianze kujitetea mapema. Your Excellencies, Honorable Judges, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, this year, the International Labour Conference under the Global Coalition on Social Justice hosted an annual forum in June 2025, where human rights economy was the central theme. And Honorable Chief Justice, I would like to thank the Employment and Labor Relation Courts for Kenya because they participated in this discussion. And also to let you know that Kenya is among the first country to attain the tripartite membership as a member of the ILO Global Coalition on Social Justice. Looking around in this room, each one of us is here because someone opened doors for us. It was either a teacher, a parent, a community, or as SG and FKE have said, KOTU or the Federation of Kenya Employers, we were given a chance to learn, to grow, and to lead. But for millions of children across Africa and Kenya included, that door remains shut. Child labor robs them not just of their childhood, but of their future. From the statistics shared by the Federation of Kenya Employers, and the rich history given by Katibu here, as we say it across the border, mwacha mila ni mtumwa, unfortunately tells us a different story. They say numbers don't lie. At this pace, we are likely to miss, or if not, the 2025 target by decades. We must act now, and we must act smarter, not just faster. Kenya is leading the way with strong laws. We've heard about the employment and the employment laws, the constitution, bold commitment as an Alliance 8.7 Pathfinder country, and impactful programs like the ILO Accel Africa and the ILO Prospects program. The country is showing what's possible when partners unite to a united cause. Together, these programs have strengthened vigilance system, expanded education, and created alternative livelihoods for vulnerable families. And Kenya's tripartite partners are vital to this fight. The Ministry of Labor, the PS is here, is driving inspection and national action plans. KOTU is mobilizing the unions and the Federation of Kenya Employers working to keep supply chains free from child labor. Still, exploitation persists. Why? Where poverty endures, where education remains out of reach, where social protection is fragile, and where accountability is lacking, these are the barriers we must collectively dismantle. And this is where you, my learned fellas, the judiciary, hold a unique power. When courts prosecute the worst forms of child labor, they do more than punish. They deter, they say, not here, not our children. When court embraces strategic litigation, you do something even greater. You set precedents that ripple across society, turning isolated victories into systemic change. And beyond prosecution, you can protect, ensuring access to justice for victims, in this case the children, awarding compensation, mandating rehabilitation, and using the courtroom as a platform to affirm children's right. So let us imagine together a girl in Kajiado who stays in school because her mother has decent work. A boy in Kakamega rescued from hazardous labor. I come from Ikolomani, and most of you know about the gold mining in Ikolomani. A child rescued from Ikolomani, not only freed from danger, but supported through the justice system. A Kenya where every child learns, plays, and grows in dignity. This is not just a dream, it is a duty. And through this symposium, the Kenyan judiciary is showing the world that law can become justice, and justice can become freedom for children. On behalf of the International Labour Organization, I congratulate the Employment and Labour Relations Court for its leadership, and I reaffirm we will continue working with you, judges, lawyers, policymakers, social partners, towards a Kenya and an Africa free from child labor. Because justice for children is not charity, it is the highest expression of law. Asanteni.
Asante sana mgeni wetu, na kwa niaba ya jaji mkuu na msajili wa koti ya ELRC, ningetaka kukushukuru na kushukuru shirika la kazi duniani kwa msaada wenu katika kuandaa kongamano na maonyesho haya kwa mwaka wa pili sasa. So thank you very much for that support. And as the Honorable Registrar said, you are a valued partner. And we truly just want to make sure that you receive our gratitude. Thank you very much. Let me now welcome Honorable Paul Ndemo to give us remarks on behalf of the Chief Registrar. Karibu.
Thank you very much, our Master of Ceremony, the Honorable the Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court of Kenya, the Honorable Justice Martha Koome. Allow me, in the interest of time and with due acknowledgement of all the guests present, to ride on the protocols that were very well established at the beginning by the Master of Ceremony. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's with great pleasure that I stand here on behalf of the Honorable the Chief Registrar, who would have wanted to be here, but due to other intervening engagements, she couldn't be here, and so asked me to read these remarks on her behalf. So it's a great pleasure to join all of you this morning for this ceremony, which marks the official opening of the third edition of the Employment and Labor Relations Court Annual Symposium and Exhibition. In this edition of the annual symposium, we will grapple with the pressing challenge of child labor and how we can best deploy access to justice to eliminate it, evidencing the judiciary's firm commitment to deploy access to justice, not merely as an end, but as a tool for socio-economic transformation. Personally, I see no better form of social transformation through access to justice than using access to justice to secure the welfare of our children and our future generations. This discourse is therefore a timely opportunity for reflection on how the Employment and Labor Relations Court and other players in the justice sector can collaborate to eliminate all forms of child labor in the 21st century. By touching base with stakeholders and practitioners from the ground, it allows the court to sharpen its thinking in resolving real-life issues in a manner that aligns with the Constitution and protects the rights of our children. I therefore want to thank the entire court under the leadership of Principal Judge Byram Ongaya, as well as the symposium planning team, for putting together an elaborate program with relevant and timely conversations on how we can all secure our most precious resource, our children. Let me also recognize the Registrar of the Court, Honorable Kennedy Kandet, supported by his deputies, for their efforts in providing administrative support to the court. The collective efforts of all judges, the registrar, and deputy registrars, together with the legal researchers and judicial staff, has seen the court score consistently high marks in our annual performance review. And I am confident that similar results will be reported in the performance evaluation that is starting today across all our court stations. Ladies and gentlemen, as the holder of the pass in the judiciary, I note that this year's event has only been made possible through the generosity of various partners, and I would like to express the judiciary's sincere gratitude to all our partners who have stood with us in putting together this event. We particularly are indebted to the International Labour Organization for its generous support, the Strathmore University for hosting this event, COTU, FKE, and others who have made this possible in ensuring that truly the administration of justice is moving forward. The fact that the symposium is hosted at Strathmore gives us a unique and unparalleled opportunity to interact with university students in whose hands the future of children's rights rests. It is therefore my hope that the student body will actively participate in the symposium, and you will network with the rest of the participants, many of whom will be your employers, and above all, that the conference theme and discussions will inspire you to be child right champions wherever you work in the future. For the rest of the partners present, it is my hope that we can deepen our collaboration with all state and non-state partners here so that we can collectively expand access to justice to eliminate all forms of child labor and other emerging social problems. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable DCRJ. I think we're moving well. And I think that if we continue that way, we will get to enjoy the panel discussion that's coming at noon today. Allow me now to welcome Honorable Justice Byram Ongaya, the Principal Judge of the Employment and Labor Relations Court, to give us his remarks, and thereafter we'll hear from our representative from the Judicial Service Commission.
My Lady Chief Justice and the President of the Supreme Court of Kenya, the Honorable Lady Justice Martha Koome, the Honorable Judges, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to the Employment and Labor Relations Annual Symposia and Exhibition 3 2025. I thank each of you for your presence. I thank the Honorable Chief Justice for the approval of the holding of this annual symposia and exhibition. I also thank the social partners and our stakeholders for the resourceful support, encouragement, participation, and continued partnering towards realization of social justice in our work relationships. My special gratitude to the International Labour Organization for the continued partnering and support by which delivery of justice by the Employment and Labor Relations Court of Kenya has been greatly enriched. I thank the various roundtable moderators, panelists, and discussants who will be sharing their wisdom and experiences. I also thank the planning committee led by the Honorable Justice Kebira Ocharo, Justice Anne Mwaure, and the Honorable Registrar, all members of the Planning Committee, and staff of the ELRC for the consistent and coherent preparations. My Lady Chief Justice, this symposium and exhibition focuses on the elimination of all forms of child labor, including the worst forms of child labor. We look forward to deliberations about the progress made and further immediate action to prohibit the elimination of all forms of child labor. We will hear from the children through compositions they have written. And my Lady Chief Justice, the children will be present, and they are present to tell their stories. The symposium and exhibition is a culmination of the preliminary events through meetings and webinars, which have been very informative around issues of child labor and child work. We will also receive memoranda from organizations and individuals. We are reminded to find time and visit the exhibition stands, which will run throughout the 3 days of our sharing of knowledge and experiences. We will examine relevant provisions of our Constitution 2010, together with statutory provisions and the extent to which they measure to the ILO Convention 138 on Minimum Age Convention, ILO Convention 182 on Worst Forms of Child Labor Convention, and Recommendation 190 on Worst Forms of Child Labor. We will also examine the United Nations Convention on Rights of the Child and the optional protocol on the sale of children, child prostitution, and child pornography, the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, and the East African Community Child Policy. We will consider the role played by the various actors and the prevailing national and county government policies and initiatives to care for the children, existing international measures to achieve the desired outcomes will be considered. We will also look at whatever has been done and what further actions are necessary. The aim is to better understand the adversity of child labor and the boundaries of fair child work. The aim is to care for the children, to fully enjoy a safe and secure childhood. The aim is to afford the children the important opportunity to be in school, to learn, to realize their full potential, and to develop a passion for lifelong learning. The aim, my Lady Chief Justice, is to ensure children become responsible adults who respect human dignity and contribute to peace and prosperity in their respective communities and the world. I'm extremely glad that we can come together in an open social dialogue, without which we cannot have lasting peace and prosperity. At the core of future world peace and prosperity are the children. And I'm so glad that you found time to be present today and to deliberate about the children, because I see then you are lovers of humanity and human dignity, without which we cannot have the human rights. And the foundation of human rights is justice. And this justice then gives us the peace and prosperity that we very much desire. So together let us make justice the true shield and defender of our children. Again, I thank you for your presence and willingness to listen, speak, write, and read for the children. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you very much, Honorable Judge PJ, and indeed for your leadership as the court marks the third session of this LRIS conference. Honorable Justice Anthony Mrima will speak on behalf of the Judicial Service Commission. Asante.
The Honorable Chief Justice, who is the head of the judiciary, President of the Supreme Court of Kenya, and the chairperson of the Judicial Service Commission, Honorable Lady Justice Martha Koome, kindly, my ladyship, allow me to ride on the protocol already established in the interest of time. I'm honored to join you at the third Employment and Labor Relations Annual Symposium and Exhibition on behalf of the Judicial Service Commission. This gathering has become a defining platform for dialogue and partnership in labor justice, and I congratulate the court, that is the Employment and Labor Relations Code, for sustaining this important tradition. This year's theme, that is elimination of child labor and access to justice, speaks to both urgency and duty. Child labor robs our children of education, dignity, and opportunity. Article 53 of our Constitution and the Children Act commits us to protect every child from exploitation, while Kenya's ratification of ILO's Convention 138 and 182 the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, and the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child anchors us in global responsibility. The judiciary, through the social transformation, through access to justice that is TAJ blueprint, has placed child protection and labor rights at the heart of people-centered justice. On its part, the Judicial Service Commission complements this by, 1, expanding judicial capacity through recruitment, training, and deployment of judges and staff. 2, safeguarding the independence and efficiency of the judiciary by advocating for resources, infrastructure, and technology necessary for timely and effective adjudication. 3, enhancing public trust through reforms that promote transparency, accountability, and professionalism in judicial service. Together, these efforts ensure that the fight against child labor is matched with strong institutions ready to deliver justice. The elimination of child labor cannot be achieved by the judiciary alone. The success of this conference rests on partnership among government, counties, employers, trade unions, civil society, media, and development partners. As we deliberate in the coming days, from today to the end of this symposium, let us remember the following. 1, that every child kept in labor instead of school is a story of lost potential. 2, that every delay in enforcement of laws against child exploitation is a setback to justice. And 3, that every gap in coordination among stakeholders is an opportunity for lost social transformation. I thank the Employment and Labor Relations Court, led by my brother, Honorable Justice Brian Mungaya, for convening this timely forum. I assure you that the Judicial Service Commission remains committed to providing the support required to strengthen the delivery of justice in this court. May the conversations and resolutions here today inspire bold actions and enduring partnerships for the protection of children and the realization of their full potential. May this symposium inspire bold, practical steps to protect children and secure their full potential. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner, for those remarks and for the unwavering commitment and support by the Judicial Service Commission. I will now invite PS Shadrach Modime to give us remarks. PS representing the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection. Karibu.
The Honorable Chief Justice, the Honorable Judges here present, Mzee wetu wa kazi, Dr. Francis Atwoli, Secretary General Kotu, who has cited a rich history of the labor movement in Kenya. I encourage you, sir, to write your memos, to write a biography, you know, because this is important information in the labor sector. Our sister from ILO, Caroline Mugala, who supports us in an excellent way, the CEO, Federation of Kenya Employers, whom we work with very, very closely, the management of these great universities. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is an honor to stand before you today at this important symposium, which underscores our collective commitment to the establishment of a just and equitable society. The selected theme is not a rhetoric, but a testament of profound moral and legal imperative that speaks to the very soul of our nation. This symposium provides a vital platform to critically assess our progress, confront our shortcomings, and most importantly, to forge a path forward that ensures no child is left behind. I will focus on three key pillars: the socio-economic realities of child labor in our country, the strengths and gaps in our legal and policy framework, and the pivotal role that the judiciary, particularly this court, the Labor and Employment Court, plays in ensuring that access to justice is not a mere slogan, but a tangible reality for our most vulnerable citizens. We must recognize that the fight against child labor is inextricably linked with the pursuit of social justice. A child engaged in labor is a child robbed of their childhood. They are exposed to physical injuries, psychological trauma, and a lifelong cycle of poverty. The right to education, which is the key to unlocking future opportunities, is denied. For our nation, the continuation of child labor represents a significant break on our human capital development and our long-term economic prosperity. It is a national crisis that demands a national conscious and a unified response. Ladies and gentlemen, the Constitution of Kenya 2010 provides a strong foundation for protection of children under Article 53. The Children Act 2022 prohibits the use of children in any employment that is harmful or interferes with their education and provides for the care and protection of children. Further, the Employment Act Cap 226 sets the minimum age for employment at 16 years and restricts the types of work that children can do. The Counter-Trafficking in Persons Act is critical legislation in combating the trafficking of children for labor exploitation. Thus, the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection established a National Steering Committee on Elimination of Child Labor, which is multi-sectoral and composed of government and civil society. Further, it has initiated the process of reviewing the National Action Plan on the Elimination of Child Labor, which outlines multi-sectoral strategies, and we have also established county child labor committees at the county level to bring campaigns and enforcement closer to the communities. We face challenges in implementation, including legislative gaps, weak enforcement capacity, and low community awareness. Our task is to translate strong laws on paper into real protection for every child across the country. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings me to the crucial role of the Employment and Labor Relations Court. The judiciary is the ultimate guardian of our Constitution and laws. Your role, therefore, is not just to interpret the law, but to ensure that justice is accessible and delivered with speed, sensitivity, and fairness, especially for children. These children and their families are often poor, uneducated, and unaware of their rights, and access to justice is out of reach. The formal court process, with its complex procedures and costs, can be intimidating and effectively act as a barrier to justice. Fear of reprisal from the exploiters and the stigma associated with their situations can also silence them. We must therefore work together to create a child-friendly justice system. This means more than just a dedicated courtroom. It means a fundamental shift in our approach. My ministry is committed to working with the judiciary to implement a strategy that includes, number one, simplified and expedited procedures, exploring ways to streamline the litigation process for child labor cases to ensure swift resolution. Secondly, legal aid and pro bono services, ensuring that every child victim has access to quality legal representation regardless of their financial status. Thirdly, specialized training for judicial officers, equipping judges and magistrates with the necessary skills and sensitivity to handle cases involving child victims. a trauma-informed approach is not an option, it is a necessity. Fourthly, interagency collaboration will strengthen the collaboration between the courts, the police, the departments of children's services, and social workers. This is crucial for successful prosecution and, most importantly, for the proper rehabilitation and reintegration of the child. Ladies and gentlemen, the task ahead is immense, but it is not insurmountable. The elimination of child labor is a shared responsibility. To our partners in the judiciary, I urge you to continue upholding the rights of children and to actively seek out and eliminate all barriers to justice. Your leadership in this area will inspire confidence and encourage more victims to come forward. To my colleagues in government, we must double down our efforts. We need to strengthen our inspectorate, improve data collection to identify hidden forms of child labor and enhance social protection. The future of Kenya rests on the shoulders of our children. Their laughter, their education, their well-being are true measures of our nation's progress. Let us leave this symposium today with a renewed sense of purpose and a shared resolve to work tirelessly until every child in Kenya is free to be just that, a child. And I thank you.
Thank you very much, PS, for that very concise call to action with solutions and practical approaches. Thank you very much. Let me now welcome Honorable Justice Dr. Smokin Wanjala, Judge of the Supreme Court and Director General of the Kenya Judiciary Academy, to give us his remarks and invite the Honorable Chief Justice to give her keynote address. Thank you.
Thank you very much, the Honorable the Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya and the President of the Supreme Court of Kenya. Please allow me also to adopt the protocols that have been established. Before I make my very brief remarks and thereafter invite the Honorable the Chief Justice, let me just remind my elder brother, senior comrade Dr. Francis Atwoli, a good friend of mine. Last time you made a speech at a similar convention, you again gave us a very rich history. And today you have done the same, and I think that is as it should be. But I did implore you that time to amend your history and mention also myself in the labor movement, because you said you approached the late president, you did everything, which you did, and now the Employment and Labor Relations Court was born. And you mentioned the first cohort of judges that were appointed to that court. What you forgot to mention, and you shouldn't forget when you write your memoirs, my brother, is that the chairperson of the Special Committee of the Judicial Service Commission that interviewed and recommended for employment, that first cohort, was Justice Smokin Wanjala. So I think that's a very important... And so, the Honorable the Chief Justice, I also join those who have spoken and recognize the fact that at the center of the discussion today is a non-negotiable legal and moral imperative to protect children from economic exploitation and any work that endangers their health, education, development, or dignity. And people, those who have spoken before me,
have actually laid bare the legal infrastructure, both international and domestic, that has been put in place to safeguard our children. I don't want to repeat that because I could dilute or could even distort. And so in the interest of time, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the Honorable the Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya and the President of the Supreme Court to make her remarks.
Thank you very much. Please, may we be seated? Thank you, all the speakers. I recognize all of you this morning. Wonderful, wonderful speeches with important statements. Thank you. Our elder, our comrade, and Dr. Francis Atwoli. Thank you, Caroline from ILO, our sister who is also one of us, Jacqueline. We never forget where you came from. Sometimes we think we rent you.